Hello, my friends. It's Bradley J, and I want to introduce you to a new friend of mine, and I will in a moment. I'll say hello. I'll tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll speak to him. His name's Jake Broe. Hi, Jake.
Hey, Bradley, thanks for having me.
Now, folks, let me tell you a little bit about Jake. More and more, especially during the pandemic, I, of course, watched a lot of television and I watched a lot of news, but more and more, I veered away from cable news and I got more into YouTube and actually recently got premium YouTube, which is so sweet. And as I was watching coverage of the war in Ukraine, I found myself gravitating towards my guest here, Jake Broe, because of the kind of pharmaceutical strength of his broadcast. It's not a lot of filler like you get on the cable news. He doesn't make it about him like you see in a lot of YouTube videos. It's just really insightful information delivered in a way I like. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make sure that as many people as I can find out about Jake. And that's what I'm doing today. So, Jake, how do you do?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be on your broadcast today.
Now, we know that you are a financial advisor. That is your main gig, correct? And you,
I am not a financial advisor. I have no certifications, but
okay.
I do operate a YouTube channel that talks about everyday finance and investing. If you want my backstory, I've been
Yeah.
operating this YouTube channel for 3 years, and in 2019, I started this channel while I was serving on active duty in the United States Air Force. I was accumulating money. I was an officer, and I didn't know what to do with it. My parents and my school never taught me how to properly invest and save for my future. So I turned to YouTube to learn how to do it. And there's a YouTuber named Graham Stephan. I was following his channel for about 5 or 6 months, learning about Roth IRAs and 401ks and all that good stuff. And then he uploaded a video, how to get your first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I just decided, as a hobby, as something to do for fun while I was stationed in Minot, North Dakota, I would just start making YouTube videos. And initially, I decided to focus on military finance related topics because I felt like there wasn't a lot of good quality content on YouTube. And then the scope of my channel just kept broadening and broadening, where eventually I could just make a video about anything.
Right. So, not an official financial advisor, but you do talk about finances on YouTube. But that's not really the reason we're here. My next question is about how you gravitated towards the war in Ukraine, and how, of course, I want to know all about how much time you have to spend on it and all. But I'll get to that at the end. But one more question for openers here: how did you focus on Ukraine? What was your motivation?
So I left active duty in February of this year. The war started in February of this year. If I was still serving on active duty in official capacity, I don't know if I would be at liberty to make these videos, but I'm a private civilian. I'm a veteran now, and it's just a coincidence. So in February, when the war broke out, I was holding call contracts in an active trading account on the defense contractor General Dynamics. And you can go back and watch my video in February where the price, the stock value of General Dynamics was spiking because everyone was saying, is Russia going to do it? Is Russia going to actually invade Ukraine? And in my video, I said that would be incredibly stupid if Russia did this. So I ended up selling the call contracts for a quick profit because I didn't think Russia was going to do it. Like, I didn't think Russia was actually going to invade Ukraine. This video got a lot of views. Normally, I talk about the stock market, credit cards, general finance, and investing stuff. That video got a lot of attention, so I tried to make another one and then another one. And the way the YouTube algorithm works is they reward you. If you make content that gets a lot of views, you as the creator, you want to get views. So I just started talking more and more, and I was blending my traditional active trading finance stuff with just coverage, just general coverage of what's going on, because those first 2 or 3 weeks of the war were just absolute insanity. That 40-kilometer long convoy going to Kyiv, and all these videos showing up of these Javelin missiles taking out these armored Russian tanks. It was a spectacle to behold. And here we are now 6 months into the war, and I mostly just talk about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. If you want to know my backstory, I have a bachelor's of science in political science, legal studies. I have a master's in international relations. So I am geopolitically orientated and focused. So I served in the Air Force for 6 years. So I do feel like I can contribute value to the YouTube community talking about this conflict.
All right, let's start with one of your more recent broadcasts, I believe, and that was you talked about the recent attack on the airbase and the debate over whether it's the result of the longer range munitions from the HIMARS, the 300 kilometer munition, or a bunch of guys with explosives running around and planting explosive satchels. What is your take on that?
I think there's a lot of confusion and ambiguity, and ambiguity helps the Ukrainians. So I don't think there's a rush by Western allies to explain exactly what happened. The average Russian soldier is probably still struggling to figure out. I do believe the Kremlin knows exactly what happened, and they have all the visual evidence and materials and proof, but they're currently lying to their own people. They're lying to their own soldiers, saying that maybe a careless Russian soldier dropped a cigarette and that's what caused an accidental detonation. I don't have any, insider knowledge. All I can do is speculate. And from the satellite photos, I would argue that it was an ATACMS missile, one of these 180 kilometer or 300 kilometer range missiles that you can launch from the M270 or M142 HIMARS. So that's my interpretation. I made a video outlining that. Can I rule out Ukrainian special forces sneaking onto the base and planting explosives? I can't, but
that seems pretty difficult, though, right? You'd have to get them in there, and you'd have to go. If you took out 9 planes, plant 9 explosive devices with no one seeing you, and probably getting out. That seems pretty difficult.
But I'm sure proper security on Russian Air Force bases is terrible, but I don't think it's that bad.
All right. So what do you figure now, given the situation, that Putin's long-range plan is, his end game? Is he just counting on Western fatigue, war fatigue, like happened in Vietnam, for example, and he's just going to keep on showing us that no matter what, he's going to keep going and hope that we just get sick of it and go away?
I think for Vladimir Putin, his ability to remain in power depends on getting some kind of tangible victory from this conflict. His people are willing to tolerate a very large amount of suffering, and I think even psychologically they'll accept a minor victory if they can just get, the border region of the Donbass or even a fraction of the Donbass. But there has to be something that Putin can walk away with and say, hey, these 80,000, wounded and dead soldiers we had, look, we got this chunk of land. But the Russians are just winging it. I think this was supposed to be a 7-day war. It was a blitz into from 7 different fronts with all their armored divisions, and the Ukrainians were supposed to stand down. Zelensky was supposed to flee. The professional Ukrainian military in the Donbass was then going to be ordered by a puppet government installed by the Kremlin to stand down, and that would have been the end of the war. The Russians, especially coming from the north, they sent in tens of thousands of soldiers with no more than 7 days worth of fuel and food. They were not expecting this war to go longer than 7 days. They didn't plan for it. And here we are 6 months later, and they're just making it up as they go. There is no plan. There is no objective. And there was that statement put out by the Office of the President in Kyiv that Russia's goal, their rate of attrition, losing soldiers and equipment, is so great that they want to somehow just pause the war, freeze it at its current places. They're not going to do any more advancing. And they're hoping that with these Western democracies, as elections come around, voters will turn on their political leaders, frustrated with sanctions, frustrated with higher inflation and prices, and then maybe with changes in governments in Western countries that uh, they'll be more favorable to Putin and agree to concessions to let him have more territory and stop supporting Zelensky. I don't think it's going to work, but it's Putin's best shot.
Do you think that the Ukrainians, after all this, would make any kind of deal at all?
No, but Putin believes it's not up to the Ukrainians.
I see. And I suppose if they weren't being supplied, they wouldn't have much choice. So I get that. You mentioned. Go ahead.
They would carry on anyways, but Putin thinks that without Western supplies, the Russian military would fare better.
You mentioned sanctions. Are they working? I get mixed messages.
So we don't have any accurate reporting within Russia. All the information that we get from Russian bureaucracy, you have to be skeptical of the true numbers. But even the official reported numbers coming out of Russia of their GDP and their economy, they look bad, even if they're inflated or exaggerated. So sanctions take time. Economic fallout takes time. When a factory goes idle, if it goes idle for a couple months, not a big deal. If it's idle for more than a year, the economic devastation and fallout, at some point you got to lay those employees off because you're not generating any revenue. Their aviation industry, their automotive industry, lots of industries have been completely destroyed because of these sanctions. And sanctions are designed so I'm going to hurt myself with the hope that it hurts you more. People in the West are feeling the inconvenience with higher inflation, but we have free press in the West, so we talk about it. So we have freedom of speech, we can complain. You can't complain in Russia. You can't post articles, you can't do surveys. So we don't know what the real economic impact on the ground is. All we can do is look to experts. There was this study put out by Yale, this was like 2 weeks ago, talking about, yes, the sanctions are working. It is getting bad in Russia.
Okay, a couple more questions. By the way, we're talking with Jake Broe, who does newscasts on YouTube. I think he's the best. And the reason I'm speaking with him is because I want to turn you on to him. How do folks find you? They simply go to YouTube and search Jake Broe, Broe, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So this nuclear power plant that is being occupied by the Russians and probably, wired up with bombs, it's almost like a nuclear threat that would not elicit a nuclear response if used. If they use nukes like standard nukes, there would be a great response. But this threat using the power plant is equally serious, if not more serious, but it probably wouldn't elicit the same response. So it seems kind of like an ace in the hole. How much of a danger is that, as far as you can tell?
They're clearly using the nuclear power plants as a base of operations because they know that the Ukrainians won't strike it with a HIMARS. So they're storing equipment, they're storing ammunitions. If you're a Russian colonel or general, sleeping in that power plant is the safest place to get a good night's sleep in all the occupied territories. And there was this crazy reports how the colonel, who's controlling the garrison of the base, has told his soldiers to wire the plants with explosives, and if they can't control Ukraine, then they will make Ukraine scorched earth forever, so no one can have it. That could just be hyperbole to, make threats. But does this Russian colonel actually want to kill himself? If he ordered his soldiers to trigger the detonators, would they actually do it? That would be the end of their lives. This nuclear power plant is the largest in Europe, and it is priority number one. All of the employees at the plant they're Ukrainians working at gunpoint. Is this plant getting the proper safety and maintenance that it requires to safely operate? Probably not. And I think if there is a Chernobyl-like accident at this plant, NATO and the West can't ignore it because this radiation will spew everywhere. It'll go around the globe.
So you don't see it as a suicide possibility if things just really go south for Putin. Say, you know what? I'm losing here. I'm just going to play this card. Yeah, I'm going to sacrifice all these people. Going to blow that up just to destroy Ukraine, because that a lot of what he's doing does seem just about destroying Ukraine.
Well, you can't detonate the plant and just destroy Ukraine.
True, but
The winds would blow over Crimea. They would blow over the Black Sea. They would blow east to the Donbass. It would be very apparent, very obvious everywhere.
right.
The
So
devastation.
you don't worry about that. That's good.
I don't think a rational actor, and I still do believe that the Russians have been acting in their own self-interest, even if they're terrible at it. They're still making decisions that you can rationally anticipate,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're incompetent. But to destroy this plant, I I I think an accident is more likely. Some kind of
Okay.
accidental safety violation triggering an explosion, and then that'd be a serious problem.
Okay. And one more question. You are wildly successful on YouTube, and I know for a fact it's hard to get a subscription, at least hard for me. You have a gazillion. What do you have, like 191,000
I'm probably
subscribers?
going to hit 200,000 subscribers this week or next week.
So you probably don't want to share your all your secrets, but can you give a guy a hint as to how you did it?
So in the beginning, it's very difficult. If you want to go on my channel, I made a analytics breakdown video when I hit 10 subscribers, then
Wow.
again when I hit 100, then again when I hit 1,000, then again when I hit 10,000. And it took me 6 months and 60 original videos to get to my first 1,000 subscribers. So
Hmm.
in the beginning, it's hard sledding. The algorithm isn't going to respect you. You're not going to get the traction. I think other platforms like TikTok, it's a lot easier to get a viral hits, even though you've not been putting out consistent content. But with YouTube, it's all about who do you know? The algorithm on YouTube links together users with interactions. You just have to do everything right to get any traction. And I understand. I know what you're saying. I understand your frustration. I've been putting in the work for 3 years. And just to put it in perspective, it took me 2.5 years to get my first 100,000 subscribers and only 6 months to get my next 100,000
Wow.
subscribers.
So that it's more than just having excellent content. You really have to kiss the butt of the algorithm and learn what it wants and do that thing.
Good thumbnails, good titles, good tags, good description, engaging content that people click through, and then bugging them to leave nice comments and giving you a thumbs up. Yes.
Right. One thing that I thought was important, or was told that it was important to have short videos, but you bucked that. You beat that. You have long segments. So good for you.
I think there could be, well, so YouTube is the master of long form content. TikTok doesn't do that. They might start doing it soon. And YouTube is trying to react with YouTube Shorts to compete with TikTok. I don't care. What I'm doing is working. I make videos that are usually between 15 and 25 minutes. I've been doing it for 3 years. I can't complain about the success that I've had, so I'm just going to keep doing what I do because it's not that complicated.
Well, congratulations. I love what you do, and I'm grateful for it. Oh, how much time do you have to spend to put together one of these broadcasts? There's quite a lot going on. That I promise that'll be my final question.
It's okay. You can. So it's weird for me because YouTube is now my full-time job, but it's also my main hobby. So I'm always on my computer absorbing information. Everyone now can be a prosumer. You're both a producer of content while you're also consuming it. So my videos are really just aggregations of media and information that I would have consumed anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always on the computer, and when I read something or see something that I think is interesting, I just click and drag and I save that browser. I then merge them together, put them in an order that makes sense. Maybe I can tell a story, and then I just try to explain
Mm-hmm.
what I think is relevant or interesting about what's happening with this conflict. So time, let's say maybe like 2 hours consuming
Wow.
and researching, and then maybe 1 or 2 hours filming, and then 1 or 2 hours editing and uploading.
Oh, that's great. Do you organize? So you found a bunch of stuff to show. Do you organize it? Open different tabs. So you open tab, 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 tab. Is that how you access it quickly?
Yeah, everything is in the Chrome browser, and then I've just cropped out, the bottom, the dock on my Mac where you'd see all the icons,
Yeah.
and I crop out the top where you'd see all the browser tabs.
Okay. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you very much. Folks, it's Jake Broe, YouTube news broadcaster, if you will. It is a broadcast. I really appreciate your time and keep doing what you do.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay, everybody, and share this, will you? Because he's excellent. We won't be live anymore in about 5